Good morning. How's everyone doing today? A nice Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. I always think about watching scary movies. Friday the 13th. Don't you guys too? Just love Friday the 13th. Anyways, welcome. It's a Friday the 13th, and we're going to take a look at what is currently transpiring in the markets. We see some interesting things happening with the euro and the dollar and gold, of course. So we're going to examine those and see what's potentially setting up for next week, because I believe something is setting up for next week. We could get, bigger picture, we are seeing that the banks are preparing for, likely preparing to push the euro lower and gold lower. They could make one last effort to push price higher and continue it higher. It's a very, very big possibility. So we have to wait and see how next week's price action is going to play out. Okay, so we'll go through that, what that looks like on the charts, what we should be waiting for. Okay. Did you guys get a chance to look at the post that I made, the journal entry? Regards to the maze of the markets, you guys have to give that a read. You really do, because that is like crazy good information right there. Okay, make sure you give that a read. This article is really good. It touches upon some advanced concepts that we use to determine where price is going to go. So let's just let that load up. But to give you an example of what I was explaining, I'll get a clean chart here, and I'll show you what we're talking about. Now, everybody knows what a maze looks like, and you know that there's in a maze you basically have an entryway, okay? An entryway. Let's mark that off with like a red, and you have an exit. Okay. And in amongst the rest of the maze, there's walls, right? They take you everywhere, and they can take you nowhere. So, an idea here of something that I'm trying to convey. Alright, so with a maze, the idea is that there are multiple ways to get to the destination, okay? And many of those ways mean that you have to come in and eventually you'll get to a dead end. But if you just back up and go through another entrance or go through another pathway, then it could eventually lead you to the end result, right? So with price, many times price is doing things on the charts that that there's no trends, there's no momentum, and so we have to determine what price is going to do and where price is going to go. Because as a trader, the way we make our money is by determining where price is going to go. If you don't know where price is going to go, then how are you ever going to determine where or how to make money? If you don't know where price is going to go, how are you going to make money? So in trading, many times what we look for when we don't have a clear picture as to what can be expected in the markets, what we're looking for is we're looking for the path that price takes, okay? And so what do I mean by that? Well, I'm trying to draw a maze here. I think I'm doing a pretty decent job. So the thing with price on a chart is we could have many destinations, not just one destination. Okay, in this maze, there's one destination. But on a price chart, there could be many destinations, okay? So instead of just having one, there could be a second destination here and a second destination here, or a third destination there. So price, the first thing that we got to do when we're looking at a chart is we have to determine where price is. And so if price is here by this entrance here, then we determine, okay, this is where price currently is. Now we wait to see where it goes, because by looking at the chart, okay, and examining the supply and demand that the institutions created on the chart, what we're looking for is what direction price is going to take. Now, if you look at this, you can say, well, price can go down this path or it can go down this path. Exactly. It could take two paths. And if you know how to read the chart, you can look on this maze and you can say, well, if he takes this path, it's pretty clear that this path leads down here, and then a couple options, they can go right or left. And this one, it either goes down here, which brings you back, or down, and then you can go left or straight. Alright? So if somebody said, where is price going to go? I would say, well, there's two options that it can go in. So if I wait and wait to see what direction it starts walking in, then once it starts walking in that direction, I can tell you the outcomes of where walking in this direction is going to lead. Okay? Up until this point here. Now, when it gets to this point, there might be a certain degree of chances. There might be odds that, 80% odds that the price is going to turn right. 20% odds that price is going to go left. Or in this case, we could say, 60% chance price goes right, 20% chance price goes straight, and 20% chance that price turns left when it gets to this intersection. And so, depending on what happens when it gets to this intersection, if it starts to turn right, if the body, like just a person walking through a maze, if the body starts to shift to the right hand side, then you know the odds are greater than 60%. Because right when price gets there, or if you were to be watching a person walking in a maze, once the person gets to that intersection, if you knew before they got to the intersection that there was a 60% chance they were going to turn right, and then they actually get to that intersection and they start shifting their body to the right, then those odds increase from 60 to 70. And then as they start walking in that direction, it turns to 80. And the faster the momentum picks up, it turns to 90 and 95. And as soon as they are, in a good walk heading towards this way, it's 100%. Okay? Becomes 100%. And so, as they're walking down that direction, you now have to determine what direction are they going to go next. Are they going to go right? Are they going to go straight? Or are they going to go left? And if they go straight, it's a dead end. Okay? In this situation. If they go straight, it's a dead end. So they have no chance, no choice but to go either back and head all the way back to the intersection that we previously were, or they can start heading downwards in this direction and continue on with the journey. Okay? Looking at the charts and discovering what is taking place is exactly like this. Okay? If you can understand that and start to look at the markets that way, you're going to open up a whole new dimension of how to understand price action and how the institutions move price from one location to another location. Now, at the beginning, it's very difficult to understand, but I want you to grasp this concept, because when you get very good at understanding supply and demand dynamics, and you get to understand how price reacts from supply and demand zones, and depending on what time frames those zones are, we can expect a certain move from those areas. But the overall goal is to have price be at this spot right here, and to be able to determine immediately that the end goal is for price to get down here. Okay? And as price goes to this journey, it could take many ways to get to this journey, right? Through this journey. Because remember, what happens when price finds itself coming down here and then heading down in this direction, okay? As it's heading down that direction, it's a dead end. We can see it's a dead end because we have an overview of the whole maze, and we can see it's a dead end. Many times what will happen is we know that price is heading lower. And we had a similar situation like this on the AUDCAD, okay? We knew that price was heading lower, and there was no doubt about that. There was no doubt about it. And we were positioned short to take advantage of the move to the downside. Now, what took place? On one day, price started to rally. So rallying is price going upwards, which is against what we want it to do. Okay, we want it to go down. We know the overall journey is price is going to go down. And what took place is price started to rally. Okay, and those times where price is starting to rally, it's like when the person walking through the maze, instead of heading east, which is the direction they need to head in to get to this endpoint, they're walking west. Well, as you can see in the maze, there's times where they're going to be heading north, where they're going to be heading south, where they're going to be heading east, and they're going to be heading west. They're going to be heading in all directions. But the end result is they're going to be getting to that target, that open door that we have as the target, okay? And so what happened with AUDCAD, price was dropping. All of a sudden, it started to rally. Okay, that's fine, because we know that sometimes it goes against the direction. And it rallied and provided us with a major spike, okay? A major spike came into the market. And what happened was, it was like one of these moves, right into a dead end. It spiked through a zone that we had, a supply zone that we had, but after that spike, it reversed, headed back down, and started heading right towards our target, okay? And so this is what happens in the markets, okay? And the reason why it moves in all these directions like this is because anybody who is smart enough to know the direction that price is going to head into, they don't want the banks, central banks, they don't want you to be able to hold those positions throughout all those maneuvers. They want to somehow shake you out by causing price to go in different directions than the direction that you believe it's supposed to go in, to eventually get you to want to close out of your position, okay? So that's why I always look at the markets like a maze, a person walking through a maze, right? And as they walk through the maze, you may not know exactly which path they are going to take, and that's why you have to watch to see what they do at the intersections, okay? When they are at an intersection, you wait to see what direction they go. If you see that they're starting to head in this direction, then you know. You start taking trades alongside with them, okay? On different time frames. Let's say you're watching the weekly chart and they start heading towards this area, you know? And you know that this area leads to this, which leads to this. You know, every time price turns, they present potential trading opportunities. What do those trading opportunities look like? Well, those are the trade signals that we share in the school, okay? These are reversals, changes in direction. Every time that person moves in the maze, turns left, turns right, these are opportunities, trading opportunities in the market. They are moments on the market where price does something, okay? Some dynamic takes place, okay? So kind of a momentum shift, a zone being created for an entry, all right? Something different is happening, but they typically mean trading opportunities. They typically provide trading opportunities. So that is what the article was explaining, was this dynamic of how sometimes you don't know exactly which path they're going to take because there's no momentum, there's no trends. We're looking for these things that help us to know what direction price is going to take in this maze. But when that momentum isn't there, when those trends aren't there, then we have to rely on watching price move through the maze, and as it starts to make a direction from those intersections, then we know what direction price will go until the next intersection. When that person gets to that next intersection, then we stop and say, okay, now we're at the next intersection. Let's wait until we see what direction they start going in. And if we see that they start going in this direction, we can look in front of the maze and know there's only a couple direct places it can go. When it gets to here, it can either go right or it can go down. When it gets here, it can go either to the right or to the left. But because the left is going to only bring back to the starting point, it's likely going to go to the right. And when it gets here, a couple intersections, it either goes this way or this way. Bottom line, if it goes this way, it's going to be a dead end, so it's going to eventually come back. So we're going to bet on this direction because that's the direction to the end point. But let's say we took a trading opportunity here, okay? If it does indeed go this direction, remember, this is in a different direction than you believe it will go. That's just like entering into a trade and it going against you. But knowing you have to move your stop loss and not have it very close to your entry point. You need to have your stop loss in an area that would be a safe place to go to consider that there's a possibility that price heads in this direction. Okay? So the stop loss would be placed in consideration for the fact that price could move this direction in this maze, but it wouldn't go anywhere past here, and then it would have to turn back anyways and start heading in your direction. So you can enter into position. The position can go into the minus for a small period of time, but as long as you know where to put your stop, because you're looking at the maze and you're looking at where that person cannot go past, but you know there's a chance they could go there. You put the stop loss where you need it to go, and just be patient. Wait until it takes that path, goes to the dead end. They reverse themselves, come back, and then continue on in the journey. And so this is how I look at the charts. Okay. All right. We got a few more minutes because then I'm going to do a level 3 session. That makes sense to all you guys? It's the best way I could explain it. All right. Thanks, Nazar. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, make sure you subscribe so that you get alerts when we go live. Because lately we haven't been exactly at 9 a.m. because my schedule is just crazy busy and there's different things happening. So it's difficult to stick to a 9 a.m. Schedule Monday to Friday. But I do the best I can. I'll try to keep them around the 9 a.m. Time slot. And if we miss a couple days, we miss a couple days. It's just that I've got other things going on inside the school with students and members. Okay, so let's take a good look here at what we've got going on with the euro. Okay, so with respect to the euro, I've been pointing this out for quite some time. All right, and what we have here is an area of demand created by the weekly chart right here. And price came down, hit it, rallied up, and then came even lower. And now it's very, very close to breaking through it. But it did not break through it. Okay? It did not. Now here's the thing I'll share with you. Okay? Many times when price gets very, very close to breaking and then starts to rally, it will eventually lead to that area being broken. Okay? But there are a handful of times where price holds on for dear life and then we see a big rally. All right. So if I had to break down what were the chances, I'd say there's about a 65% chance that price drops and eventually removes the weekly, and about a 35% chance that price rallies from this area. Okay. So we're in the maze and we're at an intersection. 65% chance it goes south, 35% chance price goes north. So how do we know? Well, when we were looking at the maze, weren't we saying We watch for those small shifts in body language to determine what is going to happen. Okay, so let's go to the 4-hour chart. And what do we have here? We have this taking place. An area of supply created by the banks is being removed. That opens up the pathway for move up to what? We have a daily area of supply up here, right? So price is heading up towards that daily area of supply, okay? So this has been removed. It opens up the pathway to that. Now let's switch over to the daily chart. So here's the daily chart. Okay, so remember what we were talking about, 65% going south and 35% going north. Okay, so 35% chance going north and 65%. Now, price is starting to make a move up, right? It's starting to position itself and heading north. What did it do? It removed the 4-hour area of supply. So you know what that tells me? This 35% now changes to like 38%. Okay? That's what that tells me. And this 65% changes to 62%. Okay? It's a slight change. It's not a big change, but it's a slight change, right? But we take note of that. These little details is what makes the difference between knowing what's taking place in the markets and having no clue what's taking place in the markets. All right, so now price is heading up towards here. Now, when it hits this area of supply, it's got two decisions to make. Just like when that person's walking through the maze and it reaches an intersection. It can either go one way or the other. So what happens now? Well, I'll tell you one thing. If price comes up here to this area of supply and it drops down from here, then remember the 62% we were talking about, price breaking through that weekly demand zone? Okay? That would now turn into about 80% chance that weekly demand zone breaks. Okay? 80% chance. And this 38% chance now turns into 20% chance. Okay? But if this area gets taken out and price starts to head up like this, guess what? It's like a reverse. 80% chance price continues higher. And this 80% chance turns into 20% chance price does not go lower. Okay? So if you understand that, that is a huge thing. It takes time to understand this concept, but this is magical. This is so powerful, I can't even tell you. But to understand this, you have to know the zones, you have to know the trends, you have to know the trend lines, you have to know the dynamics, you have to know what to expect at times, or know what to look for, I should say. And having that information will just change your trading game immensely. All right? So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll leave you with that. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. If not, no problem. Please make sure you subscribe and like. I only see 14 likes. If we can get it up to 30, I would appreciate that. And I do appreciate your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Level 3 students, we will see you in session in 4 minutes. And yeah, I think that's about it. Okay? So just be prepared. You heard what I had to say in regards to the euro. We see it removing the 4-hour area of supply. You know what that eventually will lead to. That move up to the daily area of supply. Once it gets to the daily area of supply, what are the banks going to do? Don't make assumptions. There are times where you can make assumptions because there are high odds that something's going to happen. And there's times where you shouldn't make assumptions because the odds aren't there. Not good enough. Okay? So price gets up to there, let the banks show you what they're doing with price. Okay? The banks will always show their cards. So just wait for them to show their cards. When they show their cards, then you know what they're going to do, and then you can participate in any trading opportunities. Okay? So that's it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will talk to you later. Take care. Supply, you know what that eventually will lead to. That move up to the daily area of supply. Once it gets to the daily area of supply, what are the banks going to do? Don't make assumptions. There are times where you can make assumptions because there are high odds that something's going to happen, and there's times where you shouldn't make assumptions because the odds aren't there, not good enough. Okay? So price gets up to there, let the banks show you what they're doing with price. Okay? The banks will always